You asked, we answered 18 players that you are panicking about in fantasy football that we are here to give you guys kind of our 1 to 10. Are we panicked? Are we not panicked? Hopefully we talk some people off of a ledge in this video, but maybe we will make you panicked even more than you already are. Danny, let's get it kicked off with the guy who may have gone near the first pick in fantasy football drafts, or at least went with the top 5 pick in all of fantasy football drafts. Saquon Barkley, who we did talk about last time we did this video, but he is RB18, averaging 13.5 points per game right now. So we need to have a conversation reframing either our expectations for him going forward or if we expect him to bounce back in any meaningful way.
Yeah. What did I say last time I was 7 or 8 that he would get back to, top 3, top 5 level status? I think that is out of the range of outcomes. I think at this point, you're praying that he can get back to mid to low end RB1 status. And even that at this point is a projection. What is the positive of this situation right now? He's the RB18 in points per game. He's averaging 13.5 points per game, by the way, over 1.5 points per game less than a guy like Quinshon Judkins. What advantage is he giving your lineup right now? He looks bad. The Eagles' offensive line can't block. And like you mentioned in the trade targets video, they're throwing the ball more than we've ever seen.
Yeah, I guess maybe if I spun it positive, because I'm about a 6 out of 10. And again, I'm saying 6 out of 10 that he gets back to mid RB1, not what you drafted him to be. Like, I think that ship has sailed. He's not getting back to that.
I agree.
He does have 3 or more targets in all but 2 games this year. So that's positive. He has 18 or more carries in all but 2 games this year. So that's positive. So he's getting volume still. The problem has been, he has not broken a single run of 20 plus yards, not one this season, which is a problem because that's what he was last year. That's how you won fantasy matchups with Saquon Barkley, is the 70-yard house calls, the big plays. And it's just been completely non-existent this year. So the workload overall is actually like, minus the game against Denver, where only like 6 carries or whatever, it's been almost as good, if not almost better than what it was last year. It's just not the same level of dominance as a runner.
Yeah, and that's pretty much the issue, because we said coming into the year, we said over those first few weeks, wow, like if Saquon can regain his efficiency, he's actually getting more receiving work. But if he's not regaining his efficiency, completely out of the question. But is he even going to get to like 4.2, 4.3 yards per carry? Like the Eagles' offensive line is just straight up bad right now.
Yeah, like he's such a weird one to project forward, because I'm going back and seeing like
he's mixing.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Like I'm going back and seeing just how difficult has his schedule been? Like, is he at least have like a schedule opening up here soon? Like going and looking at Barkley's schedule, he's had about a league average schedule so far this year. Like the Vikings are good against the run, the Rams, the Chiefs, the Bucks, some of the teams that he's played are good against the run, but the Giants, Cowboys, and Broncos are not that good against the run. So he should have probably had better games against those teams. Again, I guess the only real saving grace for Saquon Barkley is probably, honestly, that you just believe that this player is capable of playing better. And he does have the 4th easiest schedule remaining rest of the season, including a home game against the New York Giants this week.
And that's the only hope. And I think this is echoed around for a lot of people. I've actually tried in my home league. I have a lot of depth in that league. Situations looking good. Very, very strong wide receiver core. Good RB depth all around. I was basically shopping Saquon Barkley plus a guy like Devontae Adams or George Pickens to see if I can buy in on any like truly needle-moving elite player. Your Puka, your Lamb, your Bijan, McCaffrey, anybody like that. Any nibbles I can get. And nobody was even willing to entertain the idea of getting a Saquon Barkley plus. Like, that is how bad the value is right now for Barkley.
Yeah, and I actually lean towards buying low. I would say that's where I lean towards, because after the bye, he has the Packers and Lions, difficult matchups, but high-scoring game environments. Cowboys, Bears, Chargers, Raiders, Commanders, and Bills closing out the season. Like I said, from weeks 12 onward, there's not a single running back in fantasy with an easier schedule to me. So I'm just going to kind of hope on the bounce back of the efficiency and some of the big plays starting to be there. But it wouldn't shock me if we look back at the end of the year and he was like RB 15 in points per game, and we're just like, what the hell happened? Like, why wasn't he better? My thought process though is that he's still Saquon Barkley. He can get back to that at some point. I am adjusting expectations. I think he's my RB8 rest of season, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he's my RB8 rest of season. But I still like Derrick Henry, because I also am on the same page as Derrick Henry. For the same reason. It's just, I believe he's a good enough player that things are eventually going to connect for him.
He may very well be a good enough player. but when you're getting 16 carries per game and no explosives, this is what it looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right to be concerned. You are absolutely right to be concerned. Again, I am still slightly less worried than you appear to be. And maybe I'm outrageously dumb because I'm not the Barkley manager. Like maybe you're the person with the more authority in this situation right now. But yeah, I don't know. If you guys have Barkley, definitely don't sell him. I think you're just kind of stuck with him, to be honest with you. If you're in position to sell Barkley for top 8 running back value, you could definitely do that. I just don't imagine you're going to get that.
Like, I know you're probably going to hear this and find it outrageous, but genuinely, what is separating him between him,
Javonte Williams is what you're about
Henry?
to say.
Oh, dude, I have Javonte ahead of him. The two guys I have right in front of Barkley right now are Kyron Williams and Quinshon Judkins. He's RB12 in my rankings, and that is completely negative Barkley than anything.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I have him RB8. Like I said, I have him above Derrick Henry, Javonte Williams, Bucky Irving. Once he comes back, I'll probably move him ahead, but we're still missing another 2 games here or 2 weeks because of the bye week and the injury that he's going to be out this week. So again, the lowest I could put Barkley is like RB9, RB10. So I'm a little bit optimistic that he bounces back, but definitely very reasonable to put him like RB12.
Yeah, it's just tough for me because, I mean, when you contextualize that Cam Scadaboo's averaging 3 PPR points per game more than Saquon Barkley this year,
Ugh.
it's not great.
No, it's not great. So let us know in the comments. You guys panicking on Saquon? You buying? Again, I lean towards buying low. You're basically willing to sell if you get RB1 value for him by the sounds of it.
Like, he's a guy that if I can still cash in on any type of name cachet, even if it's like I said, you have to pair a Devontae Adams plus Saquon Barkley. You're in a 5-2 situation, a 4-3 heavy point scored, 6-1 situation, and you want to make a consolidation deal because Barkley still has name value. That would be the type of deal I do. Again, I'm not just going to sell for the sake of selling because I do think for the most part people understand that he's on the low. But if it's Barkley plus Adams, a lot of people will view that name cachet and be willing to maybe allow, a big player to go back. Obviously, that's not available in my league, but maybe it is in yours.
Yeah, maybe you could get like James Cook and Chris Godwin for that or something like that, and you can tier up at running back or something. So let's move into Kenneth Walker, and we can kind of keep this brief because we talked about Kenneth Walker in yesterday's video. Kenneth Walker, for me, is a high-end RB3, low-end RB2 rest of season. That's kind of how I view him. And that's been my expectation of him now for a couple of weeks. Like early in the season, I was pretty quick to say, the fat lady's singing. There's no way this dude's having an RB1 season. Like we thought he could have coming into the season. We were like, dude, this guy could be a top 5 running back this year based on how they were talking about him. Charbonnet was clearly the backup last year. Kenneth Walker, RB12 in points per game when he was healthy. I would say based on newfound expectations, I'm not really that worried because I actually think it's going to get slightly better going forward. Knowing that when they go into the bye, they're going to reevaluate. And that's precisely why I traded for him in the Flock League with you is I do think things will get marginally better. But I would say if I set my panic meter of RB 18 in points per game or better, I would say I'm about a 7 or 8. But if I set it at low end RB2 projection, I'm at about 3 or 4.
This is the way I'll describe it with Ken Walker. Right now, he's got about mid to back end RB3 utility with top 15 implied upside. So you kind of bake in both of those factors. If anything were to happen to Charbonnet, probably a top 12 to 15 player in your lineup.
What's separating him from David Montgomery, realistically? That's kind of where he's at.
Montgomery's ahead of him. Montgomery has to be ahead of him. Straight up. Crazy that I got to the point where I'm saying this, but Montgomery at least has a standalone role. Montgomery has at least shown the upside to get the touchdown equity on his team. When are we ever going to see Ken Walker score a fucking touchdown?
I mean, Walker's averaging 13.5 carries per game this year, and he has a little bit more target upside than he's shown as of late. Like, he hasn't been getting the targets, but he has more target upside recently. So I would say he's still slightly ahead of David Montgomery, but they're literally back-to-back in my running back rankings. So they're basically the same type of asset.
Yeah, like I would definitely take Montgomery at this point. I actually do have Montgomery more so in like that top 22 area, or top 21 area, but it's challenging. Again, I end up as a low end RB2 right now because when you bake in the implied upside plus the overall standalone. But I mean, it's funny because we ended up making this deal, the Dak Pacheco deal, Walker Caleb. I prefer Walker because of the implied upside, but if there's someone I'm putting in my lineup tomorrow, I would prefer to put Pacheco in my lineup.
Really? I don't. And I say that as someone who started Pacheco many times this year. So it's not a fun experience. I would still rather have
I can say that about Walker too.
Carries from Kenneth Walker than have to watch Isaiah Pacheco play football.
Maybe, but I mean, when you know that as soon as he makes a good play and gets down on the 2 yard line, fucking Chardonnay's coming in, then it's not fun.
I do know that, but I also know that Kenneth Walker currently has an 80.1 PFF rushing grade. Like, he's
Oh,
a good
dude,
player.
he's a
He's
good.
clearly playing well, and
That's
he
what.
is still capable of breaking off some 70-yard touchdowns and that kind of thing too.
Trust me, I've been saying he's a good player for the last 4 weeks. Saying he's a good player is not going to get me fantasy points, man. It's. I've had it about up to here, man, and I still have him in the Lister League, so I still have some stock in him. Like, I'm not completely fading Walker. I still believe in the talent, but apparently, fucking Seattle doesn't. That's the main issue here. Like, dude, like, it's his 25th birthday, and we're having him getting sniped two times on the goal line by Charbonnet. You can't even let the man fucking score on his birthday.
Yeah. Seattle's got some thinking to do in the bye week. Hopefully they think in the right direction, and I get some Kenneth Walker upside here going forward, because 10.7 PPR points per game, RB31 ain't cutting it right now. A guy barely scoring more than that is Alvin Kamara, who by all indications will be remaining in New Orleans. But by all indications, is that a good thing? Because last year, the biggest difference here, why, like, people might be scratching their heads, like, what the heck happened to Alvin Kamara? Why is he so much worse than he was last year? Because reasonably, the situation's actually a little bit better. Like, I think the offense is a little bit better right now than it was last year. But the problem for Kamara is that he's ceding carries. Like, he's had 11, 10, and 8 carries the last 3 games. And now Kendre Miller is out for the season with a torn ACL. So this could change his workload just a little bit, I would say. But he's not getting nearly the amount of targets as he saw last year. Like, this was a dude last year who averaged 6.8 targets per game, and he's down just over 4 targets a game this season. So the PPR scam that Alvin Kamara is kind of not buoying his fantasy value, and he's having to do it the way that most running backs have to do it, with efficiency and goal line work and, long runs and stuff. And he hasn't really done that. He's basically just at the mercy of when they do get rare at red zone opportunities and when he does get targets.
Yeah, and I'm genuinely, Alvin Kamara's ranking on the site is the one thing I will never fucking understand. How is he the 59th overall ranked player by the creators? Like, what are we talking about here? He is just as bad as Kenneth Walker this year. Everybody likes to hate on Ken Walker. Where's the hate towards Alvin Kamara?
Yeah, I mean, they're back to back in my rankings, and guys that are ranked below Kamara in our expert rankings: J.K. Dobbins, Chase Brown, Chuba Hubbard. I have them ranked over Alvin Kamara.
Like, you're telling me right now the experts have Alvin Kamara ranked within 4 spots of Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt? What are we talking about?
Yeah, I mean, well, we'll talk about him in a second too, about where he should be in kind of his ranking and that kind of thing. But yeah, the Alvin Kamara love is a little bit head scratching, because he has objectively been one of the, like, especially in like casual leagues, when he went like the 3rd, 4th round, he's been a bad pick.
Doug, the craziest part is, I understand if there was still the upside to get traded. Okay, Alvin Kamara maybe gets more targets. He literally said he's going to retire if he gets traded. He literally said, quote for quote, I will be sipping pina coladas on a beach if they trade me.
Yeah, 10.8 PPR points per game does you really no good. At least with Walker, you have the upside that if Charbonnet goes down and blah, 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 maybe he gets more work or whatever. But like, I don't envision this getting much better for Kamara. Like, maybe, like I said, maybe now that Kendre Miller is out for the season, it's possible that Kamara goes from, like, looking at his snap share this week, 85% of the snaps this week in a game where Kendre Miller left early. You got to hope that that continues, because if it doesn't, like, I mean, and even still, he scored 5.9 PPR points per game on an 85% snap share. We're talking, like, reasonably, what's the difference between Alvin Kamara and Tony Pollard right now?
Nothing. And in fact, I would probably rather have Pollard, to be honest. Hell, we can even get grosser here. His backfield mate's probably as valuable as Alvin Kamara right now, realistically. Tajay Spears. Yeah. What's the difference between him and Alvin Kamara? And on top of that, do you think the efficiency as a rusher is going to go any up? He's playing Tampa Bay, the Rams, and the Carolina Panthers in the next 3 games.
Yeah, no, this is it's not a good situation for Kamara. Like, among all running backs, actually, like you just said, Buccaneers, Rams, Panthers, bye, Falcons after the bye. He has the Dolphins in week 13, which is a really good matchup. But then in the fantasy playoffs, Buccaneers, Panthers, Jets, and then the Titans in week 17.
You don't even have to talk about week 16 and 17, because if you're rostering Alvin Kamara, you're not getting there.
Yeah, no, exactly. So I would be, I mean, panic meter wise, where are you at on Kamara? I'd say like 7 probably for me. Like, I'd be trying to sell this dude based off name cachet.
Absolutely. I mean, the fact that he still has even remotely tradable value is, take that, man. If people are going to look at the 22 next to his PPR rank, sell him for that. Like, fuck.
Yeah, you can get
10
mid
out
to
of
low
10.
end RB2 numbers for this dude. I think you should probably go ahead and do it. Let's talk about Breece Hall, who notoriously I specifically have been very high on. He's not producing right now. 11.2 PPR points per game, RB25, got a little bit banged up even too in the last week. The Jets are just horrendous. Like, we got to watch Tyrod Taylor for the rest of the year now. Like, is that where we're at as a society, that we have to watch Tyrod Taylor play football in the year 2025? And this is supposed to lead to anything other than the Jets maybe not winning a game the whole year? Like, this is bad, man. Bright side for Breece is that since Braylon Allen's injury, 64%, 78%, 78%, and 67% of the carries in the backfield. He is like a on-the-ground workhorse since the Braylon Allen injury. But the problem for Breece Hall has been they've been subbing him out on third downs a little bit for Isaiah Davis, but he does have a couple of high target games. So my thought process on Breece Hall is this. He's currently the RB19 overall in fantasy, 11.2 fantasy points per game, but he is, like I said, RB25 when you just look at the point per game numbers. Do you feel any better about Breece Hall now than we did a couple weeks ago?
Well, you have to feel worse about Breece Hall now than a couple weeks ago.
Well, I mean, since the Braylon injury, I feel a little bit better about him.
I mean, I guess, but he has 13 total points in the last 2 weeks. Like, objectively speaking, you should feel a little bit bad considering the 2 weeks prior, 16.1 and 17.5 points. Top of that, the receiving work, 3 targets combined in the last 2 weeks, just simply isn't going to cut it for a terrible Jets team. Like, the hope with Breece Hall, and again, like, I still believe in the talent. I still do think that when he's fully healthy, he has more receiving upside. I'm willing to more bank in on that for a 24-year-old good player than a 30-year-old washed up player like Alvin Kamara. And I also think there is implied upside. His name has been floated around. Maybe he gets dealt to a contender. Who knows? Maybe the Chiefs pull the trigger. I would hate that as a Pacheco guy now, but like, there's just too much smoke for a contending team to want to make a running back upgrade if the Jets are looking for a 4th round pick to be able to get it done.
Yeah, I think the Cardinals or the Chargers or somebody could potentially pull
Hopefully
the trigger.
not the Chiefs.
Well, I mean, like, the Chargers make sense to me because the Chargers could just shut Hampton down for the year and be like, you know what? We have Breece Hall. We just traded for him. Breece is a free agent after this year. They'll get a compensatory pick back. Like, that kind of makes sense to me.
Smurf Avery. Let's go. I'm down.
Yeah. This is just a difficult situation for Breece Hall. He's too good of a player to be this bad. And you see it. Like, you saw against the Cowboys, rush for like 100 yards very easily. We saw it in that first game against the Steelers. Yeah. But other than those 2 games, really, he's been RB19 is his best scoring week. And then he was RB41, RB31, RB37, RB29 in the other games this season. So this team is just too bad to get him positive game scripts, to get him red zone opportunities, to get him, really anything other than, okay, let's luck box his way into a couple of targets. That's pretty much his only hope. And Tyrod will help with that a little bit, which is good. But
you hear the
it's
news?
Not great.
Tyrod's also dealing day-to-day with knee injury as well.
Who the heck is starting for this team if Tyrod's out there?
After the owner talks shit about Justin Fields, it would be fucking poetic if he had to start this week.
It sucks because Breece might just be like totally fed up with this shit because like this is a dude that finishes RB6 in fantasy points per game with Zach Wilson and Tim Boyle, and he's just dealt with so much garbage his whole career that like I know for a fact he's going to hit the open market. Like, why would you not hit the open market if you're Breece Hall? Unless they franchise tag him, he's gone.
Yeah. Also, pretty big jump scare saying that Tyrod Taylor is 36 years old.
Yeah.
What are we talking about here? All jokes aside, though, I mean, Breece Hall, most ideal situation, he gets traded. Maybe you have top 15 implied upside, he gets traded. I think right now he has to be viewed as a mid to back end RB2, simply based off the fact that you're banking on an efficiency uptick based off what we've seen these last couple of weeks. 2.68 yards per carry, 3.45 yards per carry, definitely down, but we do have some hope going forward. You have the matchup against Cincinnati, Baltimore mixed in there, Miami mixed in there. Like, you do have some bright spots, but it's no sugarcoating, man. It does have to be about a 7 out of 10 that he could potentially be a low end RB1, high end RB2, specifically because of how bad the Jets are.
Yeah. I also, like, what kind of incompetence was it that this franchise didn't take a swing on a day 3 quarterback and just decided to roll with Tyrod Taylor as their backup? Like, you should have at least had because what happens if they took Shadur in the 4th round, or they took Jalen Milroe in the 3rd round or something, and then Justin Fields stinks it up like he's stinking it, and then you play that guy for the rest of the year and he actually shows something? You would have had like a cost controlled quarterback option.
Yeah. I mean, the Jets are the Jets. They don't do good at quarterback.
They don't do good at anything, apparently. So
Sorry,
yeah, Breece Hall, got to be pretty worried about him. I do tend to lean towards buying low because I think the floor, the buying opportunity is like you're going to get him for like almost high end RB3 price tags right now.
Well, let me ask you this. So, I have him at 17, but like that's more so just an indictment on that range. Like, if somebody's higher on DeAndre Swift, sure, you put DeAndre Swift above him. Like, I think that's a
I
totally
hate this
reasonable
whole
call.
tier. Like
I,
Breece Hall, Etienne, Warren,
Krosky
Jakrosky,
Merritt,
Corey Krosky,
um,
Barrett, and Swift. Like, I
dude,
don't think any
dude,
of them are that good.
but also, I think Warren has to be above those guys.
Warren
Like,
is
it's
above them.
crazy. No, that's what I'm saying. It's like we've gotten to that point where I feel like anybody that has Breece Hall over Jalen Warren needs a bath.
Yeah, no, it's disgusting, man. Breece Hall's my RB18, but like you said, it's just a complete indictment on the running back position more so than anything. So, yeah, if you want to trade for Breece Hall, by all means, go ahead and do it. But I wouldn't pay RB, even though he is my RB18. I don't want to pay what normal RB18 price tags would indicate.
Yeah, what a gross range, man. Hopefully you guys can consolidate at running back because I will say it does feel a lot better knowing I have two of the top 16 now versus the situation I was dealing with.
Yeah, well, I just like that I have Bijan. I just need Kenneth Walker to give me 10 points every game, and I'll be fine.
Yeah, that is the challenge in itself.
Yeah, no kidding. So, last guy that is also in this range for us is Travis Etienne. Again, we can keep this brief. We talked about him in yesterday's video.
Yep.
Sub 10 points in each of his last 3 games. Panic meter level, are you worried? 1 out of 10. That I guess the worry here is that Tootin starts to take over more of the work, more so than Etienne. Like, I don't think Etienne will lose his job while healthy, but the question is does this like kind of go the way that the Panthers backfield went, where like Dowdle and Hubbard are now a lot closer?
We do have a lot of the efficiency metrics pointing to the fact that Byshell Tootin has been a very high success rate runner, a guy that's been breaking contact at or behind the line of scrimmage pretty frequently. And we do have this stretch where Travis Etienne has been playing bad football. What do we always say? After the bye week, we do tend to see rookies play more. We do have quotes from Liam Cohn saying they want to get the best 11 on the field. Again, that could very well end up being Etienne. I still think he has to be viewed as, top 20, top 22 level running back. It's just maybe the days of having him as a fringe top 15 guy, I think, are numbered.
Yeah, I actually prefer him to Breece.
Reasonable.
The reason I prefer him is because he still has the connection with the quarterback, playing with him since college. I think he's still going to be the early down ball carrier. I seem to be less worried about him losing his job than you do. And I think the team is just so much better than the Jets are as a unit. So, and the run scheme is still really good and it's still taking shape. So I don't know, man. I can't figure out Travis Etienne right now. What do I do with this guy? Is he valued as a top 45 asset simply because he's one of the only running backs that actually gets volume on the ground? Or is he valued as a top 45 running back because he's actually a top 45 player?
Well, like I have this guy lower because of the threats. I mean, and to be honest, maybe I should make this change. What is the difference between Etienne and DeAndre Swift?
There's not much of a difference. They're both kind of like somewhat inefficient, former highly decorated prospects.
Backup running back that's looking efficient behind them could potentially threaten more work. I mean, we saw Manungai, for example, this week out of the bye. 2 weeks out of the bye technically, but still 2 weeks out of the bye, command 13 carries, 6 yards per carry. Like, I just view them as very similar. Like, at this point, there's probably 16 running backs I can trust. And the fact that I am calling Jalen Warren a running back I can trust now after what was being said about him 2 weeks ago just shows how bleak this position is, man. We're not in the days where RB18 is a somewhat appealing option. RB18 is a hope and a prayer at this point.
Yeah, well, that's partially why it made me take the risk on Walker, is that at least if Walker, like if Charbonnet gets banged up or something, he could become a relevant running back that actually moves forward. And we're talking about him on our Monday video as someone skyrocketing up our rankings or whatever. But yeah, this is it's not a good situation. So guys like Breece Hall and Etienne, yeah, I'm not like overly concerned about them, but like at the same time, I don't feel great if I have them on my roster either. They're kind of just hopes and prayers that you get 13 to 15 points per game out of them any given week. Let's talk about the rookie running backs. We can just quickly rattle through these guys. Are you worried about Ashton Genty overall? Just like, I think the expectation right now is that he can be like a back end RB1. Are you worried about him if that's the barometer?
I mean, back in RB1, I see him getting to potentially. He's RB17 in points per game, 13.7. We do bake in potential positive regression after the bye. Brock Bowers potentially getting healthy. Maybe the offense actually shows more signs of life with him on the field, but it's no sugarcoating it. He's not going to pay off at that top 15, top 18 valuation that you drafted him as, but I don't think anybody expects him to at this point. If the expectation is, a top 12 to 15 running back, I would say my worry level would be at about a 2 or a 3 because I see him getting there, but I also understand the risk of him potentially not getting there because just how bad the Raiders are. But if the expectation is, oh yeah, he can be an RB1 again, like I don't think he's probably going to be a top 8 guy. I don't think he's probably going to be a top 10 guy.
I remember in week 3, we talked about him as like a panic meter, and I set the over under of Bijan's rookie year. He was like 14.5 points per game and RB 15 in points per game. I think that's still about the expectation on a median range of outcomes for Genty, unless he really starts to significantly play better. The other thing that's weird about the Raiders last week is I believe it was the lowest amount of plays run since plays were tracked
30.
In a single game.
30 offensive plays run? Like,
yeah,
how
insane. And they also pulled the starters like at some point during the game as well.
How is that even possible? Like, how are you getting bludgeoned to the fact that you're only playing 30 offensive snaps?
It was 3 and outs, turnovers, like just constantly never on the field. So, and again, but that's what you got to deal with the Raiders. Like, you can't say, oh, that's an anomaly. It's like, well, they're going to turn the ball over. They're going to have 3 and outs. They're a bad fucking team.
I feel another Geno Smith rant on the way.
I'm not going to go on the Geno Smith rant, but like Ashton Genty, like, yeah, like you should be worried that this is kind of like, you'd be fine if he was your RB2. He's still one of the few running backs in fantasy that still matter, but he's RB12 in my rankings. And like, Judkins, Kyron, and Cam Scadaboo are right behind him. And like low-key, I should probably move him after those guys.
I'm doing it as well. As gross as this sounds, please, Corey, you know how disgusted I am that I have to say this? Why is there a big difference in value between Genty and Jaylen Warren right now?
I would say the way that he could progress going forward, because he's a rookie, would be the only hope that you're clinging to.
That is the hope. Like, and I get it, like the ceiling of the rookie, like the talent-wise, because Genty, talent-wise, is a lot better than Warren. It's just like workhorse running back for a better team that's going to score more points. Like, I have Genty higher, but all I'm going to say, it's the fact that it's a conversation makes me fucking sick.
Yeah, it's gross. It's gross. And Genty's been ping-ponging his usage all year, whether the Raiders are winning or losing, or a neutral game too. And they're just going to keep losing games. So that's the other sketchy thing. Bill, 2 top 24 finishes all season. I think with all the hive and the constant chaos that Bill has brought to fantasy football, the bottom line is he's only had 2 good weeks. And the rest of the weeks, he's been kind of a liability in your lineup.
Yeah.
What is the expectation for this guy? Because I think it's easy to be like, oh, like rookie gets better as the season goes along, gets more work. But like Chris Rodriguez and Jeremy McNichols continuously eat into your workload in terms of a snap share and in terms of like the team not giving you more than 50-ish, 60 maybe % of the snaps. I have RB21, and I could make an argument he's maybe even still too high.
I will come to his defense a little bit. Context does matter. They were getting bludgeoned by the Cowboys. They were down 41-15 in the middle of the third quarter. At that point, it makes sense why his snap share was lower. He still got 15 touches or 15 opportunities in the game. It just was tough sledding for the Washington offense as a whole. The reason why I'm more so worried about Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt is this Washington offense might fucking stink if Jaden Daniels is out for any more than one game.
Yeah, well, I didn't move him since the Daniels injury, so he's my RB24 now. And him, like the twilight zone kind of like running back rankings are Bill, Kamara, Walker, and Montgomery for me, where it's like you got to rank them here, but I don't feel good about them, kind of thing.
No, I know what you mean. Like realistically, like even guys like Chase Brown at this point,
I'll take Chase Brown and sleep like a baby doing so.
Yeah. And I mean, let's have the conversation, Corey. You taking Woody Marks or you taking Bill?
I still have Bill higher, but I do have Woody Marks at 29 and I have Bill at 24. So it's like a reasonable conversation. Like I said, that 24 to like 29 range of like your Bills, your Camaras, your Walkers, your Montgomerys, your Ramondres, like those type of dudes are like, it feels disgusting that you'd have to rely on somebody like that.
It does. But overall, I think we pretty much covered it with Bill. A guy that I'm going to have to take an L on, and I'm going to have to say right off the bat, this has to be a 10 out of 10. I mean, I said, hey, this is the implied handcuff play. Eventually, he's going to get the workload. When's he going to get the fucking workload? What is the difference right now between Trevion Henderson, Byshell Tootin, any upside handcuff like that? Like, it sucks.
Trevion Henderson is a handcuff. That's all he is.
And it sucks that we're saying this because it's like you would think top 40 pick to a team that doesn't have dynamism at their running back position, that loses Antonio Gibson. Like, how is this not at least a 2-man committee? Like, how is this not at least Stevenson early downs and Henderson getting the third down work? It's not even that. It's Stevenson. That's what it is.
I would dream for a Charbonnet-like workload for a Trevion Henderson at this point. Like if he had a Charbonnet-level workload, I think he'd
Give
be
me a
one of the
Tajay
better.
Spears workload, dude, and I'm cool.
Yeah, no, him and Harvey, we can group RJ Harvey in for the Broncos in the same conversation. All they are handcuffs because I don't see Ramondre Stevenson or J.K. Dobbins relinquishing their workload unless they get injured. That's the only way that I think that it happens. And Dobbins and Stevenson, both formerly productive fantasy running backs. Dobbins, a top 20 guy in points per game last year with the Chargers. Ramondre Stevenson, an RB1 in fantasy a couple of years back when he first took over that workload from Damian Harris. So, yeah, these are good running backs that are capable of carrying the football, and they're veterans, and the team trusts them and that kind of thing. They could always still get injured, especially Dobbins, because he's got a lengthy history of major injuries. But, yeah, you can't trust Henderson or Harvey other than a bench stash. And even then, like there's people in our comments all the time, should I drop Trevion Henderson? In a shallow league, yeah. In a shallow league, you should drop him. But in a 12-man league, you should still probably hold him on your bench.
I'm trying to understand where it went wrong. Like after all the positive drumbeat from Pat's camp and all the buzz in the
100-yard kickoff return, touchdown.
All of the good stuff that was leading up to him being a third-round pick by the end of August. What the fuck happened?
Yeah, I don't know. I thankfully I did not end up with very many shares of him, and I really think that easily could have went the other way. So
it did for me.
Thankfully, I'm on the right side of history for the short term. I mean, maybe by week 10, week 11, Ramondre goes down and he ends up being a league winner or something like that. That's why you should still roster him and hold him on your bench. But you can't start him anytime soon. Nowhere time soon are you going to be able to start this dude.
No, and honestly, like realistically, I will have Henderson higher because I think Etienne's a better football player than Ramondre Stevenson. But I would not be shocked if Byshell Tootin got starting work before Trevion Henderson did at this rate. Yeah. As crazy as that sounds.
That's pretty much where we're at as a society. Let's move into the wide receiver position. We talked about Nico Collins as a good reissue buy low, plus also going into last week, he was on our trade targets video. Are you worried about Nico Collins? Because he was actually the most popular name that I saw. When I said, who are you guys worried about? I put it in the Discord, put it on Twitter. The most common name was Nico Collins.
Nico Collins worried about in terms of what expectation that he's going to be a mid to back end wide receiver 1. I'd probably put that at about a 7 at this point because of the concussion, because of the context of the offense right now. I do think there is risk there, but I do think he's pretty locked in to be a top 15 guy when he's healthy. It's just, is he going to play this week? Is he going to play next week? When's he going to be back? On top of that, even if he plays next week, you still have that matchup against Denver. It's probably going to be about a 14, 15 point per game type of year.
I believe I'm a little lower on Collins than you are, even though
I
was the one who actually talked about him as the kind of buy low that I talked about him last week. I just think that him and Brian Thomas Jr. are kind of very similar right now, where it's like there's going to be ups. There's mainly been downs so far. And Nico Collins, I don't think he has the same ceiling even remotely as he did coming into the season. Like, let alone like the ceiling I thought he had. Like, not even you. You obviously thought he had a way higher ceiling than I did. I thought, okay, mid wide receiver 1 is definitely like his higher upper end range of outcomes. I don't even think that's possible anymore. I think you'd be happy if from this point forward, Nico Collins was a 15 to 17 point per game producer. I think you'd be happy with that at this point.
You'd be ecstatic with that at this point, to be honest, because like I'm looking at it right now, he profiles a lot more similarly to like George Pickens, Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson. Like, in fact, you could even make the case that those guys profile better.
Oh, I would take Garrett Wilson and sleep like a baby doing so rest of season.
They're back to back for me. And like the expert consensus does have Collins higher. I do have Wilson one spot higher now. I made the adjustment with the concussion, but like, there's no way you can argue him as being even remotely similar tier as like Ibuka, London, Jefferson, Rice. Like, you were talking wide receiver 14 for me, and you know my thoughts on Nico Collins.
I have him at 17, dude. I would take AJ Brown, Cortland Sutton, George Pickens, and Zay Flowers over him, and not think twice about it. To be honest, I really don't.
George Pickens, absolutely, yeah.
I take Cortland Sutton over him and not think twice about it.
I don't think that's outrageous, to be honest.
Until Nico actually start to play well. Like, that's the problem, is that he's not playing well. He's just like Brian Thomas Jr. in that, like, we know he's talented. He's just not playing like it.
The reason I mentioned George Pickens because you said his name quite late, so I'm scared you have him at some bullshit ranking.
He's at 14 for me.
Okay. I thought you were going to say like 17.
No, that's where Collins is. At 17. I wanted to be like, oh yeah, Collins still in that same tier with like Ibuka and London and Rice and all. No, not even close. Not even close.
No, and I mean, like, even though we mentioned, like, actually, we may as well group this together because we mentioned Jefferson as being a tier above. I think there's slight concern. Can he produce up there with like a JSN, a Monra, Chase, Lamp, Nakua? Like, no, I don't think even at his best he can compete with a 20, 21, 22 plus point per game projection. But do I think Justin Jefferson's going to get closer to that 17 to 19 range rather than the 15 and a half he's at? I think more so like that. So if the expectation for Jefferson is he's guaranteed to be a back end wide receiver one, I'll buy at that price tag. My expectation is more so a mid range wide receiver one, similar to where I have Rashid Rice, Drake London, and Emeka Egbuka right now.
He's one of those guys that you would just really have to do your due diligence on the market value of the player.
Yeah.
Like you would really have to look into, okay, what is this going to cost me to go get Justin Jefferson? Because at his production level, wide receiver 14, 15 and a half points per game, I think it would be safe to assume that you could get him for a mid wide receiver one price tag, even maybe a low end wide receiver one price tag. But his name is Justin Jefferson. So everybody knows who Justin Jefferson is. He's one of the most famous faces in the NFL right now. So this is a dude that I guess here's my ultimate question to you. 2 to 3 weeks ago, we were here with Jamar Chase, right? We were right here.
Yeah.
And we were adamantly telling people to buy him. And I saw people, I'm not going to name names, say that they would take Jameson Williams and Trey Benson and Michael Pittman and all these guys over him. Are we going to look back 3 weeks from now and say, why the hell were we not actively buying Justin Jefferson?
Is JJ McCarthy going to throw 43 passes a game?
No.
There's your answer.
And JJ McCarthy would be lucky if he was playing like Flacco just played in the last 2
That's
games.
what I'm saying. I'd love my guy, go blue, but like, Jesus Christ, if we can get Joe Flacco level production for him, I'd be over the moon.
If Jameis Winston got traded to the Vikings today, Justin Jefferson would be a top 5 to 7 redraft pick if we redrafted right now.
Yeah, he might very well be, but I think as currently consists, I have him as my 7. I think you want to argue him versus London, him versus Egbuka. I think that's fair. I have Rashid Rice ranked straight up over him, and I don't think anybody can tell me otherwise.
I have Rice I have him at 6 and Rice at 7, and one more game and I'll be there with Rice too. They're within the same tier. I have Jefferson at 6, Rice at 7, Egbuka at 8. That's the tier that I have. Just a London mini 9? Tier behind Chase, St. Brown, and JSN in the tier above them.
London 9? London
is at 9, and he's in a tier below because when Mooney's on the field, he doesn't produce like he produced when Mooney was off the field.
Yeah. So I do have London higher than you do. The way I currently have it ranked: Puka 1, Lamb 2, Chase 3, Amonra 4, JSM 5, which honestly, after what we saw on Monday, I might actually flip them because I think JSM might just very well like be a 23 point per game scorer. Rashid at 6, Jefferson 7, London at 8, and then Mecca at 9. And those are the top 2 tiers I have.
Yeah. I have all the same names pretty much. I just have them like slightly in a different order. Just Rice and Jefferson, I think, is pretty much the only difference that I have. Everything else, I have the same exact players in order that you do.
Yep, for sure. And a guy that was in that tier 2, but I've since moved to the top of tier 3, just because we have seen the context of his offense kind of change a little bit lower in terms of the pass rate over expectation out of the bye. We do see the first 3 target share go down. And I'm talking about Rome Odunze. We do see back-to-back games, 2 catches, 31 yards, less than 6 PPR points. Overall, I'm on the stance that we should be buying Rome Odunze because I think he's closer to a 16 and a half, 17 and a half point per game profile. But maybe my expectation a few weeks ago that he could maybe crack a top 5, top 7 overall wide receiver, I'm more so in the mid to back end wide receiver 1 area now.
Yeah, he's kind of I've remained a little level-headed on Odunze the whole time because I didn't want to get too carried away with him. He's kind of always been wide receiver 12 to 8 for me, somewhere in that territory, depending on if he was coming off of like a big week or a down week. I have him at 12 right now. And yeah, I think he's a back end wide receiver 1. I think we're going to look back on this season. He's going to have finished with 15 to 18 points per game, but which side of that range of outcomes does he fall under? So he's shown to be a little bit inconsistent the last 2 games. Because he's coming off of 2 down weeks, I generally lead towards buying him.
Yeah, I agree as well. The only real concern in terms of the concern of that I have in terms of panic meter out of 10, I guess like what are we doing in a relation of what would I be panicked on? What are we kind of gauging it off of?
I would say let's panic on where he was 2 weeks ago.
Where he was 2 weeks ago, I would say probably about a 4 out of 10. 5 out of 10. Again, I do think we have to bake in what we've seen the last 2 weeks. Keep in mind, by the way, against Washington, did have a touchdown that got called back in that game. I do believe this past week, I don't know if it was weather in Chicago, but it almost felt like Caleb Williams was like fumbling every other snap. I'm not sure if you watched the game at all.
Yeah, I did notice that.
But like, I do think we have to acknowledge this was a tweet from Dataroma. Weeks 1 to 4, 17.3 points per game, 2.28 yards per outrun, 0.25 targets per outrun, 8.3 targets per game, but most importantly, a 32.1% first read target rate. In the last 2 weeks, I don't really care about the fantasy points per game, 4.2. Like, yeah, sure. Okay. He's had a couple bad box score production, but more so the efficiency metrics have fallen off. The yards per run 1.29, targets per run were down 3%, 5.5 targets per game versus 8.3. But most importantly, in my opinion, from a 32.1 first read target rate percentage to a 17.9% rate. Like, that is dramatic.
Is that a play calling thing? Like, I don't know exactly. Did they come out of the bye and think that they needed to get other people more involved?
And that's what I'm thinking. And we actually saw inversely Luther Burden and Colson Loveland's rate both go up. So maybe it's just a sign that defenses are playing it heavy on Odunze right now based off what he showed in the first 4 weeks. And we're kind of seeing the adjustments made. I do also think a factor is we've seen the ground game really start to explode for the Chicago Bears. Do we start to see more stack boxes? Do we start to see more play action shots? Like, I do think that has to be baked in, which is why I'm still optimistic on Rome overall. There's just some data points that are maybe discouraging.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with him. Again, he's kind of in that territory of low-end wide receiver 1 for me. I would, if people are going to sell him for like mid wide receiver 2 price tags, which I think definitely could happen in some leagues, I would lean towards buying him there. But is he in the same stratosphere of a Rashee Rice or an Igbuka or Jefferson? I don't think so. I don't think he's at that point. I thought he could have been at some point, but I don't think he's there anymore.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe we look at it, 3 weeks from now and it flips. But I just think
it's fair. Odunze trade is just going back and forth constantly.
for sure. Well, I mean, spoiler alert. Now it may or may not be Quinshon Judkins. But yeah, we'll go on to the next play here. Tetairoa Mcmillan, wide receiver of the Carolina Panthers. I think I know where you're going to be leaning on this. But for the people at home that are looking at the box score, they're going to see wide receiver 35. They're going to see 11.9 points per game. But Corey, where are you at on Tetairoa Mcmillan?
I mean, in every game except for 2, he's been above 10 PPR points, but in 0 games has he been above 18 PPR points, despite scoring 2 touchdowns in 1 game as well. So he's not been like a high yardage output guy. He's not been a guy that has created many big plays. He's had opportunities to, which I've talked about in past like trade targets videos, that like early in the season, especially, there was like one-on-one matchups that Bryce overthrew him, or he got pass interfered with or something like that. I still probably lean towards buying low on this player, but I don't view him as like, at one point he was a top 15 receiver in my rest of season rankings. He is no longer a top 15 receiver in my rest of season rankings. He's more of a back end wide receiver 2 for me. Yeah,
I think that's totally reasonable. And I'm looking at it right now. I do have to move him down a little bit. He was at 16 for me, but when I'm looking at it, I'm like, I do kind of have to have like Ladd McConkey, AJ Brown, Zay, Quentin Johnson ahead of him just based off the production. And I mean, for AJ Brown specifically, we're looking at the recent production. Even when you take in the whole season, knowing that Ladd struggled, knowing that AJ Brown struggled, they're still averaging a half point per game more than Tetairoa Mcmillan right now.
Yeah, exactly. Like 11.9 points per game, like in his tier. Like I have a wide receiver 21, Tetairoa Mcmillan, all the way down to wide receiver 29, Travis Hunter, all in the same tier. And like in this tier, there's guys like Quentin Johnson averaging like 16.2 PPR points per game, Michael Pittman averaging 14.6, and Debo averaging 15.7. It's like T-Mac should have better production than he has, reasonably, if you think about it. Like, and Bryce not in a walking boot today, so it's possible he's not going to miss a single game. But even if he does miss just this week or something like that, I think that the offense should be getting better around T-Mac. Because think about it, in the first couple games, there was nobody there. It was just T-Mac. Hubbard was banged up. Now he's back. Jatavian Sanders was out. He's back. Jalen Coker was out. He's back. The offensive line, I think, also got a little bit healthier as well since then. So, T-Mac's got to produce better. I would say panic meter wise, I'm at like a 4 out of 10. And usually if I'm anything below a 5, I'm probably buying low on the guy.
Yeah, that's probably where I am right now. I think Tetairoa Mcmillan, if you can get him more so as a low end wide receiver 2, high end wide receiver 3 price tag. You still have the upside, of course, that a rookie gets better as the season goes along. And I think that's part of it with T-Mac. I think if you had to just rank the production we're getting right now, he'd probably be closer to 30. But when you bank in and contextualize that he's a rookie, you're probably looking at a guy that maybe weeks 10, weeks 11 on is a 14 and a half, maybe even a 15 point per game scorer. So because of that potential upside, I do think we have to uptick him over maybe the other guys that don't have quite that high of a ceiling.
Yeah, I view him. It's funny because these guys are back to back in my rankings. Him and Marvin Harrison are almost exactly the same type of projection for me, where it's like they're number ones. They should be better the second half of the season, but like you got to produce better than you're producing right now.
Yeah. And I mean, realistically, you knew this was coming, Corey, but I'm just going to say it right now. After week 9, when the Jaguars are back off bye and Travis Hunter plays as the wide receiver one on that team, he will be ranked above Tetairoa Mcmillan.
I mean, if he has another 12 target game or whatever, he probably will be. Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like we're talking about it in the context of this tier right now, and it is funny because it's like Tetairoa Mcmillan, Travis Hunter, Marvin Harrison are like the upside plays of this, and then if you're looking for the steady eddies, you go like a Jordan Addison or a Smitty, somebody like that.
Yeah, or a T Higgins or something even too, like who I have in this tier. Let's rattle off these guys rapid fire. Xavier Worthy, are you worried about? I would imagine people said Xavier Worthy worries them. Presumably because Rashee Rice had like a 45% targets per route run rate in his first game.
Worried in the sense that is he going to be a top 15 upside player barring a Rashee Rice injury? Yes. Worried as in, could you get a low end wide receiver 2, high end wide receiver 3? I'm not worried. That's about the projection I have for him. Top 25, top 30 level guy. He's wide receiver 31 in my rankings because I do have baked in a guy like, for example, DK Metcalf slightly above him. Chris Olave, I think, has kind of proven more to them at this point.
I got Chris Olave way ahead of him, dude.
Yeah. Chris Olave is 27 for me.
I'm at 20.
Wow. Okay. So you have him probably the tier above then, I'm assuming.
I have him in the same tier as like Flowers, Pickens, Sutton, AJ Brown, Collins, McConkey, Smitty. Like I think Olave's earned it with the amount of targets he's been getting.
Yeah, reasonable. And you finally saw the spike week this week. So I had him above, but who knows? Maybe I have to raise Olave a little bit more. Regardless, though, like he should be comped more so to like the Jalen Waddle, the Stephon Diggs, the Chris Godwin, Michael Pittman, that type of area, in my opinion, rather than what we expected coming into the year.
Yeah, like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 receivers other than Chris Olave getting 10 targets a game, more than 10 targets a game. Puka Nacua, Jamar Chase, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Rashee Rice in the one game that he played, and Drake London. And then Chris Olave is actually ahead of Drake London in the amount of targets per game in JSN that he's getting. Like, I know they're like shittier targets because it's Spencer Rattler and some of them been like one daily, but like 10 targets, 10 targets, man. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, how many targets per game you said that was?
10.14 targets per game he's averaging this year, Chris Olave.
Yeah, he's basically getting CeeDee Lamb level volume.
Yeah, he's a 31% target share on the season. And again, looking at who has a better target share, it's just Garrett Wilson, Drake London, Amon-Ra St. Brown, JSN, Jamar Chase, and Puka Nacua.
Yeah, shout out to Olave. Obviously going to be inhibited by the offense because we don't expect many huge weeks going forward. But if you're getting 10 to 16 consistently with 2 or 3 sprinkled in 20+ point spike weeks, I mean, you're talking about a legitimate mid-end wide receiver too, like when you look back on it.
I need a bath after this take. I would rather have him than Nico Collins for the rest of the year.
Get the tomato juice.
Yeah, it's skunk worthy. That is skunk worthy, but I think it's the correct opinion.
Fuck. Anyways. Fucking hell. Fuck. No.
Chris Olave is my wide receiver 15 rest of the season, dude. Like he's getting way too much volume to be any lower. I would love to put him at like 22 and be like, this isn't going to continue, but he's been really good his whole career too.
Yeah. Okay, we'll go to Terry McLaurin. He's wide receiver 40 for me. Corey, do you have any hope for him after he comes back from the injury?
The only hope you could have is that he's supposed to practice this week. But he also, like, we've heard for like 2 or 3 games that he was supposed to like come back, and now Jaden Daniels is injured. So, I mean, some people were like, are you worried about Terry McLaurin? I'm like, well, am I worried about him in the sense that I would drop him? No. But am I worried about him in the sense that I would expect anything more than a top 40 receiver for the rest of the year? Yeah, like that's pretty much all he's going to be.
Remember a week ago where I was called for having quote unquote take lock because I had Travis Hunter ranked above him rest of the season?
Yeah. I mean, that's aging pretty good for you. But yeah, if he comes back healthy, and I see him play well, like I'll move him up. But until then, he can stay in, wide receiver 4 purgatory.
Wandale Robinson or Terry McLaurin rest of the season?
I'll take Wandale Robinson, man. He's healthy and getting targets.
Same. Romeo Doubs or Terry McLaurin rest of the season.
I have Terry McLaurin wide receiver 40 and Romeo Doubs wide receiver 42. So I would prefer the upside swing on McLaurin, because I think when you're talking about Romeo Doubs versus McLaurin, at least there's upside that if McLaurin comes back healthy, he can maybe like reestablish himself as like a 13, 15 point per game guy.
Fair. Or he could just end up being Cooper Kupp. I'm kidding.
Yeah, he could end up stinking it up too. But like the fact that I have Khalil Shakir one spot higher than Terry McLaurin is gross.
I mean, dude, give me 2 weeks, 2 good weeks from Darnell Mooney. I might rank him above him.
Yeah, like that. This G tier of my wide receiver rankings, from Chris Godwin at 36 to DJ Moore at 44, makes me want to die.
Yeah, no, this is the definition of disgusting. But we'll go on to the next couple players. Also in this disgusting tier for me, wide receiver 41.
At the end of this tier for me.
How is he there's no way he's wide receiver 29 in points per game.
He was wide receiver 29 in overall points, I believe. Let me quickly double check and make sure he is not wide receiver 29 in points per game.
There's no way.
I don't think he is. Let me just double check this. Jameson Williams is wide receiver 59 in points per game. I think I just misclicked the keyboard there. He's wide receiver 59 in points per game, not 29.
Jesus, man.
He's got 2 good games, 2 top 12 scoring weeks, and he's been outside of the top 57 scoring receivers in his other 5 games.
Yeah. Shout out Jameson Williams, because in my home league, going into Monday Night Football, Corey knows the story. I'll share it to you guys as well. I was going into Monday Night Football up 0.04 fantasy points. All that needed to happen was quite literally 1 yard from Jameson Williams, and I won my matchup.
And he had 0 points. The guy Daddy literally held on throughout. I remember because we were at the Blue Jay game when this game was going on, and you were like, "Dude, how does Jameson Williams still have no fantasy points right now?" And I'm like, And it's crazy because he had a catch on the sideline that his like right foot didn't get down, and it was like only like a 3-yard catch too. It wasn't like a long catch or anything. It would have been enough to put you away.
I won by 1 passing yard. 0.04 is 1 passing yard.
That's insane, man. That's absolutely insane. But yeah, okay. Jameson Williams is no different than Kayshon Boutte. There's no difference. Correct. You throw him into your lineup and you hope for a big play. That's it. That's all you can expect out of Jameson Williams going forward.
You're not wrong, dude. Same thing with DJ Moore, same like fucking Jerry Jeudy, Jawan Jennings, like, dude, you can't convince me that you throw Luther Burden into the lineup, you expect anything different than Jameson Williams right now.
Yeah, that's pretty much where we're at. Pretty much where we're at. Again, as disgusting as that sounds, that's where we are at with Jameson Williams. He is Kayshon Boutte level inconsistent.
Yeah, dude. Like, in what world is he still a top 80 player by the expert consensus?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Whew.
I would rather roster Brandon Ayuk at this point. At least there's the upside of when he comes back in week 10, week 11 or whatever, he's back to being like a wide receiver 3 or better. Like there's no hope for Jameson Williams right now. He's just not getting the targets. If he plays better, okay, maybe that's where that's coming from, and people maybe think he's a buy low for that reason. I just don't see it, man. He's just not getting the targets. He's got a couple of decent big play upside because he plays for a good team, but that's about it.
Yeah, like realistically, I'm curious who has more receiving yards this year between fucking him and Ryan Flournoy. Like, let me actually look at this right now.
That's where we're at as a society, man. Where I can have Kayshon Boutte ranked 1 spot ahead of Jameson Williams, because that's who I have. Kayshon Boutte at 43 and Jameson Williams at 44.
So I was over my skis a little bit. Flournoy's only at 179, Jameson Williams at 289. But the fact that he has only 100 more receiving yards than the guy that's only played 2 games of above 50% of the snaps is pathetic. Yeah,
lots of pathetic shit going down with Jameson Williams here. But yeah, that is, we do have 2 more guys that we can just quickly mention. BTJ and Marvin Harrison Jr. we did talk about in recent weeks. BTJ, assuming he's healthy, my panic meter is still at like a 5 or a 6. Like, we had him on the skyrocketing video about 2 weeks ago, and, you know, rightfully so. He had a couple broken plays, you know, had some big touchdowns and stuff. I would say that you still got to treat him as nothing more than like a back end wide receiver 2 at best.
Unfortunately, I mean, you want to believe in the talent. I think we're going to come back after the year and we're going to hear reports that Brian Thomas Jr. was playing with a torn labrum across the entire year. Like, he just doesn't look like the same football player. And I think the evidence of it, I pointed this out to you. He took like a soft jam, like a 1 year,
I know, and he like looked like he busted his shoulder open on it or dislocated it or something.
Like, he was grabbing at that thing like he literally got hit by a bus.
Yeah, of the two of these guys, I have way more hope for Marvin. Because at least with Marvin, like, he left early a couple weeks ago and looked really good before leaving early. He's also playing with a backup quarterback the last 2 games. And before that, we saw like a strain of games, the Thursday night game where he had to like bounce back in the second half. And then the game after that, he ended up having a good performance with 13.8 PPR points, top 24 scoring week. So after those 2 games in week 4, the Thursday night game, week 5 has a top 24 scoring week. He leaves early in week 6 with a concussion. 5 days after the concussion, plays in week 7, still with a backup quarterback, a Jacoby Brissett, in a game where they were playing the Packers also. And the Packers have a really good pass defense. So I think with Marvin, you look and you go, okay, after the bye, you got Dallas with your first game back. Like, let's see where we're at with Marvin Harrison after he plays the Cowboys in week 9. That's where I would like to reevaluate the Marvin Harrison experience. Because if you have 6 fantasy points against the Cowboys, I'm going to get worried.
I will say Cowboys are actually getting healthier on defense right now, which may help a little bit.
Maybe. I mean, the other thing is too, like, as someone who just traded for Marvin Harrison in the Flock League, I was watching that game closely and intently, and he was missed a couple times. And Brissett, was late on some throws and stuff. So again, that's going to happen because Kyler's the same way. But Harrison, to me, he's playing a lot better than he played as a rookie.
Yeah, and that's the main thing, right? Like, as long as he's playing well, like, it's going to bounce back. Again, is the expectation he's going to be a mid wide receiver 2? No, it's probably going to be.
I think he can still do that, though.
I would say
if you told me he was wide receiver 14 in points per game for the rest of the year, week 9 onward after the bye, I could see him doing it.
A little optimistic for me. I have him more so as like my wide receiver 26 rest of the season. I think the expectation is back end wide receiver 2, high end wide receiver 3. But if you're getting anything more, I think it'd be very nice.
Yeah, he's at 24 for me. Exactly. So
reasonable.
Again, I'm basically like right behind QJ, Pittman, like those type of guys. I think as soon as you get those like guys that are just actually producing really good numbers out of the way, I think Marvin has to be like the first name you talk about after that because he has the potential to do that if he can figure things out and hopefully his QB gets healthy after the bye and that kind of thing. So those were 18 players that we're panicking on, that you're panicking on. We hopefully talked you off the ledge on some of these guys. But unfortunately, if you're a Saquon Barkley, Alvin Kamara, Breece Hall, Nico Collins manager, we did not do a great job of talking you off the ledge, but we gave it to you straight here. And hopefully you can use that information to go forward. And I would say generally, when somebody's in this video, they're probably not a good sell at the moment, unless you're really like willing to sell low on them. For the most part, you probably want to wait for a good week out of somebody here and then maybe sell on them and see if you can tier up at that point in time if you're still worried. Like we get a 60-yard Saquon Barkley touchdown next week, then you maybe want to sell high on him as opposed to thinking, okay, now he's back and he's a top 5 running back rest of the season.
Yeah, no, I think that's reasonable.
All righty. So appreciate you guys for tuning in. Check out the Flock Fantasy site for free team review. If you're an annual subscriber, you also get the trade calculator, trade finder. My teams feature all of our rankings rest of season, week 8, start set rankings, dynasty rankings, everything in between. But with that being said, peace out. We'll talk to you soon.